All right, it's 6 o'clock. Call to order the first ever organizational meeting for the Rockridge Public Schools District. The public may access school board agendas by visiting the district webpage and clicking on district information, board of agenda, agenda minutes, board book. And now please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Moving on to roll call. Director Gentilini. I see him there.
Roll call. Present.
Director Sorkin.
Here.
Director Addy.
Here.
Director Schoberg.
Here.
Director Yuan.
I'm here for the moment. I got baseball starting here soon, so I'll dip out when I have to leave. So I'm here for the moment.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. Director Saylor.
Here.
Director Lotiger.
Here.
Director Anderson.
Here.
Director Tamero.
Here.
Director Sundquist.
Present.
Director Baraboo.
Here.
And Director Reardon.
Present.
And Director Mannanen present. Number 4, approve the organizational meeting agenda. Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
So
Mr.
moved by Director Sundquist. Support by Director Lotiger.
Okay, any discussion?
I have a clarification and a question, and I think a suggestion. On the bottom where it says that we will vote by a show of hands or a voice vote, these meetings have to be roll call votes. So that will cut the mustard there as far as, I guess, what's required. And then I would suggest that we don't have a vocal roll call vote. Have a secret ballot, some other, and then have those results made public after. And I don't know that the moderator for Zoom can do it.
You can't have a secret ballot.
You can if you make the things like right after the vote. It's a paper ballot. We've done it before, and it's totally allowed.
And that's impossible to do in a Zoom meeting. I do not support that.
I do not either.
It would be possible to either text into the moderator, secretary, or to email.
Right,
I think
right now, the motion in front of us is to approve the agenda, not to debate something else.
Well, that is part of the agenda. I'm sorry. Just it has everything to do with how we handle the voting of the officers.
This is a public board. Our votes should be public.
They are public. After you do a paper ballot, then they become public, and you read how everybody voted. I think it's important that in a roll call vote, that the first person and the last person, nobody knows what somebody else's vote is going to be. And that's not guaranteed by a roll call vote. Somebody's going to be beginning, in the middle, and at the end. And that's my whole reasoning for that.
I mean, this is a public meeting. I don't know why we want to keep people's votes secret.
It's
But
not.
Polly, if you want to make a motion to amend the agenda to add those, then we'll wait and see if you have a second.
Exactly. And that's exactly what my amendment would be, is to have a paper ballot that after the results are in by someone collecting it, that then each person's vote becomes the public vote. So it will be public.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second?
Fails.
Okay, motion fails. And any more discussion on the meeting agenda? Okay, all those in favor signify by,
Excuse me, Greg, I'm sorry. If by approving the agenda, there are some, items, particularly on the consent agenda that I'd have a few questions on. So do they have to be removed from the consent agenda at this time, or how do we handle that?
we'd have to remove them from the consent agenda. Which items are you looking at?
Just, I have some questions over the hires. Particularly given that, we have absolutely, the Evelyn Gilbert members have no insight at all into, the hires. And just looking for some explanations as to how that happened, and were the teachers that, because we're in a different position where we laid off several teachers, and were they considered?
I agree. Thank you, Matt, for catching that. I would like a discussion on that as well.
And I was going to suggest those be removed too. 12.8 also through 12.16. And 12.8 has to do with our REA membership. And then 12.9 through, let's see. 12.9 through 12 are the hirees, and then 12.13 to 12.16 are resignations. And I have some questions about those too.
I mean, really moving on, we can move them, but we all get this agenda beforehand. If you want something moved off consent agenda for discussion in order to keep the meeting moving along, you could always get a hold of Noel or whoever the chair is and get them moved.
Well, we vote on this to change the agenda or to remove them from the agenda.
Page.
Okay, I'm looking at, I'm gonna move 12, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Those are the hires. And I'm gonna put them at 14, 11, 14, 12, 14, 13, and 14, 14.
Okay, move them to the regular items.
And that's where they are at in administration.
And I have just a quick question about the 12.13 through 12.16, the rest. That will only take just a very short comment.
Well, I'll give you the time on that. If you want to comment on that right now, I'm not going to move it off the consent agenda.
Okay, that's fine. So my question was, when we have these resignations, do we not need to replace these people? Do we post and advertise, or are we not replacing those people? That was my question.
All those positions are either posted or in the process of being filled. Is that right, Noel?
Yes, that is right. But first you have to accept a resignation in many cases before the position can be filled. So the first step for the board normally is to accept a resignation before we would go out and post for the position. Sports are a little different, but especially for any full-time vacancies, you have to accept a resignation first, generally speaking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The only other thing, remember from our collaborative meeting, is suggested that our agendas also include unfinished. And I don't know where we would discuss that, as whether we want to add that to the agenda or not as a vote. I don't know where you want to put that.
We have unfinished business, as this is our first meeting as a board.
I know, but to put it on for the future as one of our regular agenda items. And we, Evelyn Gilbert had board member topics too. I don't know when we would discuss whether we wanted to add unfinished business and board member topics or not. On the new board.
I would just suggest that, I mean, we have such a hefty agenda tonight that once we have the chair and the chair and consult with Dr. Schmidt, can we can consider those items at our next meeting.
I think
Later.
that sounds good, like a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. It should be up to the next chair.
And then I'd like to add on this too, that we're going to be approving some minutes of on 12/2 on your January 8, 2020 meeting. Ellis Gilbert did have a couple of meetings since then. And, for approving the minutes of your meetings, we should also be approving the minutes of our last meeting as well, but it's not on here.
Well, I think because ours had to do with a contract, negotiate a contract resolution, probably.
Well,
And if we don't have them, we can add yours on
Yeah.
next.
And Bill, once again, I mean, this was out, a couple of days ago, we could have added it then if you would have saw it. Okay, any more discussion?
Is it appropriate for we Evelyn Gilbert members to vote on minutes that we weren't at?
There's no longer an Evelyn Gilbert School District or a Virginia School District.
Well, you're right, but we've always abstained if we hadn't been at a meeting.
And
No.
abstain.
All right, I need,
Agenda,
we got more. What's that, Polly?
If it's in the consent agenda, I could not abstain to 12.3, to the other one. It's no, let's just do it.
Yep, you can vote no or yes or whatever you want to do. Okay, we had the motion, we had a second, we had discussion. All those in favor of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign.
Don't we need a roll call vote on telepresence?
No, not on the agenda, no. Okay, moving on to 5, election of board officers. At this time, I will take nominations for chairperson.
I would like to nominate,
Quist.
Okay, I got Gail with Director Sunquist, and I have Brandy with,
Director Addy. Director Addy.
okay, any more nominations? Any more nominations? Okay, we have 2 or more for the position. So for the first one will be for Director Sunquist. And we'll do a roll call. Director Gentilini for Director Sunquist for board chair.
With 2, and I don't know, just wouldn't it be easier just to say the name of the person we're voting for? That's how I've seen in the past, but I don't know.
No, it's easier, in person, but we'll just do it for this. Can I get Director Gentilini for yay or nay for Director Sunquist for board chair?
No, he said, no.
Okay, Director Sorkin,
No.
Director Addy,
no.
Director Yuhan,
no,
Director Saylor,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
No.
Director Anderson,
Yes,
Director Tamero,
yes,
Director Sunquist,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
and I am also a yes.
Do I get a vote?
Director, sorry. Why do I always forget you, Matt?
I don't know. I'm unforgettable.
Director Schoberg,
No.
7-6.
Okay, so if my math is correct, that's 7-6 in favor of Director Sundquist. Now, do I gotta go through with another vote for Bill then?
No. It's
I don't know,
unanimous.
and I gotta, I just don't like the way this has been handled to this point. And I don't think that was a good way to do it. And
Well, how are we
that's
supposed to
enough,
do it,
enough
Matt?
said.
How-
You,
Matt,
you
how are we
asked,
supposed-
you have two people. You asked for, you either say Director Sundquist or Director Addy.
That's what we just did.
No, we didn't. You made people say yes or no to one of the nominees. Let's
right.
move on.
Yeah. All right, Director Sundquist, please take over the meeting.
Okay, at this point, I would entertain nominations for a vice chair.
I would like to make a motion for,
Director
I-
Sather, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion for Bill Addy.
I'll support that. Tim Reardon.
I'd like to nominate Kelly Sather.
And that was Director Baraboo.
Yes.
Is there a second on that?
Do you really need a second? You don't need a second, do you? On any of these, do you?
I don't think so.
I don't
No,
think,
we're just.
You
not-
just-
Any other nominations? All those in
Can I-
favor, go ahead. Who is that?
Can I just add that I'm looking at this in light of the joint board and what a good job they did and how current they are on everything that has been done so far. And that is my reasoning between wanting you both to have those.
All right. Any other nominations? Any other, or any?
Have one question, Stacy. What you should do is ask Bill and if they want to be nominated, because if they don't want to be nominated, then we would not have to go through a vote.
That was next on my list, Director Reardon. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just wanted to make sure that there weren't any other nominations. Hearing none, Director Addy, do you accept your nomination?
Ask Kelly first.
I asked you
Kelly
first,
first.
Director Addy.
I will accept.
I nominated you, Director Addy.
Oh,
So
I
are you,
stand by my nomination?
are you turning down your nomination, Director Sather?
Yeah, I think Director Addy has done a phenomenal job as our chair for the last 2 years, and I was pleased that he accepted it this year again. And so I think it's important to have a good representation of our new board members. So I would love to see Director Addy as the vice chair.
Well, with no further ado, Director Addy, the job is yours if you're accepting of it.
I will accept it.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is electing a clerk. Do I have nominations for clerk?
I would like to nominate Kelly Sather.
Director Sather, do you accept?
Yes.
Are there any other nominations for clerk? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? So at that, Director Sather, you are the new clerk of the Rockridge School Board. Next is the treasurer. Do I have any nominations for treasurer?
I nominate Marie Anderson.
I will nominate Matt Schoberg.
Any
I
other
don't want it.
nominations?
No, I do not accept. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Director Anderson, do you accept? You're muted, but it looked like you said yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And then finally, I would open the floor for a nomination for alternate clerk.
I'd like to nominate Matt Schoberg.
Do you accept, Director Schoberg?
All right. I said no once. That's enough. I will.
Thank you for being Minnesota nice. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, Director Schoberg, the job is yours. Agenda item number 6 is to set regular meeting dates and times. And I think we kind of touched on this last time where we talked about, I think both boards traditionally have met twice a month. I think we talked about the importance of having those be official meeting time, or official meetings. Do I have a motion for setting dates and times for our Rockridge School Board meetings?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we have our board meetings on the second and fourth Monday of each month,
Are you including a time in your motion?
6 p.m.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Do we know where these meetings are gonna take place by any, I mean,
I think that's
I mean, are
something
we-
that we also have to decide.
I mean, has anybody got any ideas where we can all gather? Eventually, we're gonna all have to gather at some.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. And my only suggestion would be, if we can, find a spot in one of the districts to start and then kind of alternate at least for the time being.
I like that idea.
Yeah, and I'm fine as long as we have room for all of us and for community members.
Yes.
Yep.
And we can social distance with the current protocols and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hopefully not have to wear masks.
I have a clarification that part, if the meeting needs to be rescheduled, it will happen the next day, same place, same time. You have, due to weather, I think last year our board resolution just said for any reason. Does that matter? If it's just for inclement weather?
I think in light of COVID, that has taught us that we need to plan for beyond inclement weather.
So I would make an amendment, add if the meeting needs to be rescheduled for any reason, it will be rescheduled the next day, same time, same place.
That's fine.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll accept the
Okay,
addition.
that's fine.
Okay, so this is any further discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Can you hear?
Director Gentilini.
Said yes.
Okay, thank you. Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Yuhan,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Motion passes.
Director Sather's a yes.
Oh, sorry, I thought I got you first.
That's okay. I'm
Um,
writing down names, so I learned to go through the 13 also, so.
Good, that's a good idea. Next item on the agenda is setting the salaries of board directors. Traditionally, Virginia board members were reimbursed $250 a month, with the chair receiving $300. Looks like Evelyn Gilbert board members were receiving $250 per month, with a stipend paid semi-monthly. And then in Virginia, board members serving on a negotiating committee was $45 for each session up to 5 hours, and $75 for sessions of 5 hours or more. Do I have a motion regarding board member salaries?
I'll make the motion.
Who was that?
Merrill.
What? I missed it. Was that you, Director Tamaro?
Yes.
Turn on your,
Turn your mic on.
Can't.
You can.
Is there support? I'm sorry, I have barking dogs. Is there a support?
Support.
I'll give that to Director Lotiger. I will take a roll call vote again. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Schmidt, Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Sorry, yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Yuhan.
Yes, and this is me. I'm gonna dip out after this.
Okay, enjoy the
heads up.
game. Enjoy the game.
Thank-
And Director Sunquist is also a yes. Motion passes.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Um,
Good luck.
Next, I would entertain a motion to designate school depositories, Franzen Bank and Trust, MSD-LAF, and Minnesota Trust / PMA, Miners National Bank, and First National Bank of Gilbert. I don't know if either Spencer Awney or Director or Dr. Schmidt want to kind of explain this.
I can explain. This is Spencer. These are all the banks that currently Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia districts did use. And because the state will be still sending money to those districts to clean up this past school year and to then also to start the Rock Ridge dollars, we'd like to have all the same bank accounts for this next year. And then we can look at maybe changing it a following year. But I think for this first year, it would be good to have some consistency and have all the same bank.
Okay, so the recommendation is to keep things as is.
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Director Baraboo. Who is support?
Sather, sorry.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do another roll call vote. Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Reardon.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
and Director Gentilini.
Yes.
Thank you. And Director Sunquist is a yes as well. Next, under organizational business, is authorize the hiring of school board or of a school attorney on an as-needed basis. Generally, the district uses the services of Colosimo, Patchen, and Kearney as primary legal, with secondary counsels as Rupp, Anderson, Squires, and Waltzberger, and Ratwick, Rozick, and Maloney. And I think that Superintendent Schmidt can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at just maintaining the status quo on that as well, I think.
Yes, we are recommending more attorneys than normally you would recommend, only because we have two districts coming into one, and we think it would be prudent to continue using the same attorneys who have dealt and we've worked with on a number of different cases.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a
Madam-
motion?
I'll make a motion, Reardon.
Second,
Okay, support by Schoberg. Any further discussion?
Are these in any particular order as they are used or just as needed per their expertise?
Well, the motion suggests that we have Colosimo, Patchen, and Kearney, which of course is the local firm, as our primary counsel. And then the secondary counsels be the other two law firms that were noted.
All right.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, another roll call vote. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Gentilini. Director Gentilini? Yes. Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Motion passes.
Can I just ask, is there any way to get Tom to be able to hear us, be able to hear what his votes are?
Yeah.
Or
agree.
any way to help
Yeah.
with that?
I mean, get them closer to Murray and Tom. I see they're in the same room.
Yes, they are. This is Noel. We can, but we need to keep folks 6 feet apart. We will fix this problem next time. But this is the best we can do. I will move a little bit closer to Tom, so you're about to see him in 3D. Okay.
Well, he can speak up too.
I'm sure
Probably can.
he's having a hard time hearing, and I
I'm
think
hearing.
he can, but
Because he has nothing in front of him, so.
Yeah.
Can hear pretty easily because of the speakers.
Next, under organizational business is consider authorizing the business manager and superintendent to make electronic fund transfers. And this is authorizing them to, like making money or changing money from savings to checkings and things like that.
So moved.
So moved by Director Baraboo. Is there support?
support
By
Director Lotiger.
Any other discussion or any questions? Hearing none, another roll call vote. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Gentilini? Director Gentilini? Are you in favor of the motion?
Nice and loud, Tom. Gotta yell.
What was that?
Well, I guess I don't know. You can't hear me, huh? You hear me now? Okay, what are we voting on here now?
Hey, Murray and Tom Tamro, get them closer to you guys. You guys are closer than 6 feet.
What are we? 6.5?
I mean, you're right across this desk from each
Yes.
other.
Yes.
All right, Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes.
Thank you, Murray, for moving closer.
Thank you, Murray.
You're welcome. You hear me.
The next agenda item is the committee memberships. Committee members, oh man, my iPad keeps blitzing out. I think there was the blank roster that was attached. And I think the idea was, well, I guess, how do we want to put together committee memberships?
Madam Chair, this is Noel talking. The background for this is what we did is we took the Evelyn Gilbert committee list, and then we took the Virginia committee list, and we merged them together to make them about as equal using the same numbers from Evelyn Gilbert, Virginia. So what you're seeing is our suggested recommended list of committees. So this is combining Evelyn Gilbert's committee list and Virginia's committee list. So this would be our recommendation. The only one I want to point out that maybe the school board would like to maybe think about doing differently. Currently, right now, the city council, there's one position. However, we have multiple city councils, so the board may want to consider whether one person should be the rep for all three city councils, Virginia, Evelyn, and Gilbert, or whether you want to have three or two. That's the only one I want to point out right now to the school board.
And that's the one I had written down, that Evelyn person can go to the Evelyn City Council, Evelyn person, Evelyn Council, Virginia. That's the only one that I looked at also.
Director Sunquist,
Yes,
I have a question.
yes,
My Zoom went out and we're on 6.7.
yes.
When my Zoom cleared out, did we already do 6.6?
Yes, that's what happened. Okay, there's so many boxes on the screen. I just knew they all moved around a bit. I apologize for that, Director Reardon.
Oh, that's fine. My Zoom went dead, so I thought maybe I missed it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so now we've got the, looking for a motion on committee memberships.
I have some.
I-
Go ahead,
I-
Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
I do have one question now. VEA, I assume, is that Virginia Education Association?
Yes,
And I mean, the negotiations will be combined as far as that goes next year, correct? It'll be with the entire teacher bargaining unit. So I just think we might want to change the name of that committee.
Yes.
Probably just to a negotiations committee. Would that be sufficient?
But I do see we have principal negotiation committee, ASME negotiation committee, so.
So how about just teacher?
I think
Or-
teacher,
For MEA,
However we do it, I really don't have any opinion other than I think it should be changed.
Yeah,
agreed.
I suggest that we have one negotiating team for all of the units, because then there's consistency, you know things about insurances and about health, and in Evelyn Gilbert, we had one negotiating committee. I think it's better instead of different people having to come on board for different things, because there's so many things that are the same. And so I would suggest that. And then we also had, and I think it worked well, we had committees of the whole for budget, finance, personnel, policy, and facilities. And I don't see why we couldn't have that. Committees of a whole, or just put those things on regular agendas.
my concern for having so many committees on the whole is it is really hard to be able to get work done. And I've been a firm believer of being able to, the committees being able to help guide and dig into the weeds that need to be done. And as an entire board, especially a board of 13, it's really hard to do that.
I absolutely agree.
And especially, I think that the committee of the whole, I mean, we got to be able to trust each other to pass along information and to be doing right by the district and the kids. So I don't think committee of the whole is necessary.
In lieu of a committee of the whole, certain things could be just agenda items for full meetings. I think budget and finance is one of the biggest ones that are major statutory responsibilities. And
Well, I would agree with that, Director Sorkin, except we've done it with a smaller finance committee and approved it, and we've balanced our budget the last several years where your prior board did not. So I would advocate having a smaller finance committee and bringing that to the full board. Because again, like Director Sather pointed out, we're able to dig into the weeds and ask some questions that it would be very difficult for the whole board to do, especially considering the bulk of the work the board needs to complete in this next year.
Stacy, that has
I agree with what you're saying, Chair Sunquist, to a great extent, but please don't throw us under the bus for the lack of action on a budget that was never brought to our attention.
I agree, has nothing to do with a balanced budget or not. And there's
correct.
just,
I like the one thing that, though we have small committees, it still goes back to the board. They make a recommendation and we have full discussion at the board level. but they give the input on why they made the choices they made. So the committee of the whole at the board meeting will hear everything, but they won't have to have the intense hours put in. So I agree, not having
It's-
committee goals.
It's much easier to find meeting dates for a smaller group of people than an entire board for different issues as well.
So can
But
I
I
get,
That in lieu of a committee pool, have things on the agenda. I feel strongly that all board members should understand certain, totally, don't all information and background, just from committee reports. It's just not possible. And then up to four out of 13 is only about a third of our total board now. I think that's a small number. And is it going to be mixed up between former Virginia board members and former Evelyn Gilbert board members for these committees, or what? 4 out of 13, amount of, it's not even way less than a quorum.
I feel there should be representatives of both Evelyn and Virginia on these committees. I believe that everyone should have a voice.
I agree, Gail.
I think what we're trying to do now is figure out how we're going to put together our committee memberships.
There's another one that Evelyn Gilbert had, but we never got around to doing it. And I think maybe this joint board should have it, would be a labor management committee. We should establish that and add that to our committee roster. And I see some of them have one representative. Of course, it's RAMS, it's Indian Ed, IRA, and Legislative Liaison. We also have MREA. We have to add that because I'm the representative for that one rep. Tim, are you the RAMS representative?
I am.
No, Stacy is.
Okay, carrying it over to the joint. I mean, not to the consolidated. Okay.
And I'm looking at that, and I know we have meet and confer with the VA. Well, now it's not the VA, but we have meet and confer with our teacher unions on a regular basis. I think it's once quarterly. I'd like to see that on there. And I think with Ask Me, I think we were asking on our last contract and negotiations to try and get a meet and confer going again, because I think we used to have it, but now they don't want it.
Evelyn Gilbert used to have it too, and we tried to resurrect it, but there was so much going on that it never got off the ground. So
I would like to see at least meet and confer for the teacher unions on there. I don't know if it could be the same people that are on the teacher negotiation committee, but should be on there.
Question, are negotiations in Virginia typically during the workday?
Yes.
Like the principals last time, it was in the afternoons. So
how do we want to go forward on this?
Myself, I would like everybody to pick 3 or
Director
4.
Sundquist, why don't we, you hear me?
Wait, Director Reardon was just speaking.
And submit it to the chair, and they will divvy it up, trying to give everybody, equal representation. And I also would like the MREA added and Northeast Service Co-op added to that with the meet and confer.
Or we,
oh, I'm sorry, Director Lotiger. I was going to let Director Addy jump in.
Sure.
I was gonna say, on our typical meetings, we would send a spreadsheet on whatever committee you wanted to sign up on, you just signed up on it. I mean, they kind of made it simple.
And I was going to suggest that maybe, like Gail had said, have representation from the old Evelyn Gilbert district and the old Virginia school district, and sign up. And being there's 13 of us, there's a few more being added. I was just thinking at least one, each of us choose at least one, potentially a second one, and sign up for an alternate. I think that would be appropriate.
I think, I mean, to make sure we have enough people, volunteers for all the committees, I would suggest that each of us number them 1 through 5 and submit a list of 5 for consideration.
There's 22 right now committees, and there's 13 of us, so we will all at least be on 2, and some may want to be on 3, and the ones that are up to 4 people, I mean, I think we should just submit what our desires are and see how it pans out.
I kind of like that. And then how about if Director Addy and I get together and kind of flush out the final committee assignments?
Yeah, because it's only going to be for 5 months.
Yeah.
It's for 5 months.
And there may be a couple of them, like if Director Sorkin was.
You cut out, Stacy.
Sorry, am I back?
You're
Yes.
back.
I was just gonna say, Director Sorkin was saying she's on the MREA board, and I am on the RAMS board. So there's a couple committees that I think people are committed to already.
So, you know, those, I was just gonna mention that because those, I wouldn't really consider those committees. I would just consider those representatives because it's a
Sure.
process. So I think that we can take those out of the committee list, don't you?
Well, I just think that we should acknowledge that that does take a certain bit of time out of your schedule for school board business.
And Northeast Swap, that's just one person?
Correct.
Is
I
that you,
believe so.
Tim?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not really a committee. The other one that we have a recreational board, but that's all probably going to change in the meantime. We appoint a joint rec board. How do we handle that?
Holly, I think that's under community ed. Community ed and rec board.
Yes, it's there.
It's about the 5th one down.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay. But does Virginia have a rec board too? Representative? You don't? Okay.
We have a
Right.
board, don't representative on it.
Okay. We'll figure that out.
So, what, Director Anderson?
Sheets that have the openings, we put down 5 or 6 things that we are really interested in and get them back to you and Bill.
Right, are you making that motion right now?
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll support it.
So there was a motion by Director Anderson. Who was the support for that? I missed it.
All of us.
Any further discussion?
We also have a Channel 12. We appoint 2 people to Channel 12. We don't know what's going to happen with Channel 12. And I'm just hoping that you didn't forget labor management. Are we all agreeing that we should have institute a labor committee?
Well, if there are additional committees that you feel are left off, just include that in your submission, and Director Addy and I can take a look at all that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, another roll call vote. Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes,
Director Baraboo,
Aye.
Director Schoberg,
Yes,
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yeah.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. All right, at this time, we will adjourn the organizational meeting and call to order the regular meeting of the Rockridge School Board. At this time, I would consider additions or deletions to the agenda.
I would like to add to the agenda, we need to designate responsible authority, which is usually the superintendent. And that's also like the Iowa kind of representative that we need to appoint. That would just be right.
You kind of cut out there, Director Sorkin. What were you looking to add?
Appointing or designating a responsible paid statutory for purposes of Open Meeting Law and Data Practices Act.
Noel, is that something that we need to do, or is that something that happens by operation of law?
This is Noel. That is something that you will need to do. So you can do that this board meeting or with the next board meeting.
Okay,
I support the addition.
okay. Any further discussion on that?
14.
Yep. 14, 15, I think that makes it, right?
Correct.
And I'm not sure, do we need a roll call voter on this too? Probably.
Just before we vote, we talked before, because this is such a long meeting, should we and could we discuss later meeting about board member topics and unfinished business at another agenda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We need to roll call this. This is just for the consider additions or deletions. We would just do it on the approving the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Director Sather. All those in favor of adding the addition signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And now we'll do a roll call to approve the agenda. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. At this time, we will have recognition of any visitors or any public input regarding the meeting agenda, which of course is a little bit difficult on Zoom. I don't know if we've got any input on any public comments on the agenda. Doesn't look like anyone else is at the boardroom.
We do not have anyone else at the boardroom here.
Thank you.
Stacy, before we go on, correct, could I ask you, did we skip or did we not, did I miss the signature plates 6.6?
Oh, I bet I missed it.
I think you missed it.
I did. I totally missed it. Let's go back to that. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry, we're going to have to adjourn the regular meeting and go back into the organizational meeting. I will entertain a motion for authorization to use the current signature plate with the signatures of the past chair, clerk, and treasurer that will be used until the new signature plates are ready.
So moved.
Support by Sather.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All right, Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Gentilini. Was that a yes, Director Gentilini?
Yes.
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is also a yes. Thank you for reminding me that I missed that. All right, going back to the regular meeting. Let's see. I will look
We
for a
were at
motion.
visitor input, I believe.
Okay, and then we figured out we didn't have any visitor input. And then earlier we talked about the amended, can I get a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I will make that motion, Director Lotiger.
Support by Director Anderson. Director, all those in favor, well, I'll do a roll call vote. Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is also a yes. So that brings us to agenda item 13, right?
Correct.
Recognition and reports. So one is the superintendent update.
Just a few members of the school board. First of all, can you hear me okay right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. A couple things to update the new school board. One would be the update on the Spectrum Health building. Now Rock Ridge owns the Spectrum Health building because all of the assets that either district has now converge into one. So we have taken possession of the Spectrum Health building. The part of the building where Spectrum Health was currently using as of May 2020, we have turned that into the construction trailer, so to speak. So Kraus Anderson is currently setting up offices there. There is a potential spot in that building where Kraus Anderson is. You were earlier talking about school board meetings. There is a potential location there. Once we get the clearance, that's a location we could have some school board meetings. I believe there's an area that might be large enough to accommodate all of the board members plus all the other people who might be able there to attend. We have cleared that area out. ERATS is still on the other side of the building. And I'll do a very, very short update on them. We did have a date with the judge. The judge has given us a date, July 24th. Judge Friday will make a decision, one way or the other, on the eminent domain case. So he did not ask for additional discovery. So just so you know there, we are anticipating on July 24th, the judge will make a decision on the eminent domain case. I'm going to stop here and ask if any members of the board have any questions they want to ask about the Spectrum Health building. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go on to the next agenda item, which is another very brief update. This is on the citizen complaint that was filed with the Office's administrative processes. There was a procedural meeting on Friday with the attorneys. Basically, they set some dates up, and the short story is that on September 30th, there will be a hearing date where both sides present the evidence, so to speak. That could get moved, but as we're here tonight, September 30th is the official hearing date that the judge has set. And beyond that, I can't give any additional updates because the date on Friday was not a public meeting, and that was simply with the judge and the attorneys talking about dates. So just want to give the board an update that September 30th is the hearing date. Any questions that any member of the board would like to ask about that? The third update would be I did bring this up last week. This would be, we're going to have to make a decision here soon. I want to update the board again because the start of the school year is not that far away. I am strongly suggesting that for the most part, we keep busing and open enrollment. There is no open enrollment anymore between the two districts, but that if kids were attending a certain school because the parents, for whatever reason, chose to attend that school, that we honor that for this upcoming school year. We will have to talk about that in the upcoming year, but I think it's in our best interest to not mess with attendance boundaries right now and not mess with school buildings that kids want to attend right now, because that's a highly emotional topic and people will need think time, processing time, as parents start to think about where they want to send their kids and where they can send their kids. So this is just an update for the school board that this is coming up very, very quickly. We will have to be working on our school bus attendance lines, and unless the school board directs me to do otherwise, we are planning to continue the busing just like we've always done. There might be some routes that change if we're able to and shorten them. But for the most part, if the kid is attending either the Virginia or Evelyn Gilbert School District, even though they don't live in those boundaries, we are strongly suggesting those kids still be allowed to attend those districts and those buildings. And that is what we are planning on having for the fall. Any questions from any members of the board on that?
Well, eventually, Noel, you will have to have the discussion just to let the people know that when the elementaries open, that the attendance boundaries will already been changed, and the parents will already be notified that they will be attending when the elementary opens, that they will be attending that elementary within the new district boundary. I mean, not so much today, but the conversation has to start so parents can, start realizing that what's gonna have to happen for efficiency reasons.
Right, you're right, Bill. And what I'm suggesting is let us get through the start of the school year. Because we just have a lot of systems changing at once. And then once we get through the start of the school year, and then then I'll be coming back to the school board and coming up with a process for us to start talking about attendance boundaries and how all of that works. So parents have at least a year's lead time, if possible, when the attendance boundaries comes into play. But Bill, yes, you are right. Okay, those are all of my updates for the school board right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 14, we have administration items. 14.1 is consider authorizing the superintendent to approve in-state travel requirements of employees during the school year. Can I get a motion regarding that?
Make the motion.
Move.
Motion by Director Tamero, support by Director Addy. Any additional
Correct.
discussion?
Is there like a dollar amount going to be set on that before it has to be discussed at the board level?
Noel, can you answer that?
It's outside of Minnesota, Brandy.
Yeah, this one here that you're authorizing is for in-state travel. And if it appears to be excessive for in-state travel, I mean, I probably wouldn't approve it to begin with. But for outstate travel, yes. Then we would bring all of those to you and the school board would have to approve those.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
And just to clarify too, Director Ladigar, what it notes on the agenda is the exception would be scheduled athletic activities in Northwest Wisconsin. Any additional discussion or questions?
So this is distinctly for employees.
Yes. Any additional discussion or questions?
Just quickly, would there be a way if, say, an employee really felt strongly and was denied to go somewhere to maybe appeal to the board? I have no idea of an example, but just kind of theoretically.
I think there's always that opportunity. I mean, if they are denied by the superintendent to, they have it brought to the board level. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I will take a roll call vote. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is also a yes. Agenda item 14.2 is consider authorizing school board members to attend necessary in-state meetings.
The only question I have there, what would necessary, is there a definition of necessary? That's subjective, like a judgment call at the time? Or what? I mean, like say the school board convention, the summer one and then the January one. I don't know what, the definition of necessary would be versus unnecessary meetings.
I would think that attendance at like MSBA or any additional meetings would be a necessary meeting, but I think if I
In
don't
the-
know.
In the past, we've always, when we want to go to a meeting, let's say the MREA and that, we always go through the super, get his approval. And if he says no, well, then we go. And that would be the same with all of these. Is you run it by the superintendent.
Well, MREA, just like MSBA, they have yearly meetings,
Right.
convention, so and some of the other ones, but who decides important and necessary, not necessary? That was my only question, clarification. Stacy, the defining of terms as far as interpretation.
I would think if it's regarding work for the school that you're serving on the school board, so if it's MREA, MSBA, anything that is helping us to be board members, whether it's a training or a participation because we're part of that committee and need to be able to stay on top of it to do our work, that would be necessary.
Yeah, well,
I'm not going to take a yoga class and bill it to the school because it's not I don't need to bend like that for school boards. I mean,
we can move on, and if there's ever a question, we could just visit with them, okay?
yeah.
Any further discussion? I will take a roll call vote on this. Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes,
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes as well. Agenda item 14.3 is consider authorizing the superintendent to employ additional instructional library maintenance and clerical assistance as shall become necessary.
Can we get a little bit more background on this before we even, I just don't know what that actually means.
Noel, can you clarify this a little bit better?
Yes, it's fairly common that when something happens, we might need to hire somebody short-term basis. There might be an overload someplace where we need to get through something quickly. This allows me to hire someone to get through this. Ultimately, if we're hiring anybody full-time, they all have to go to the board for their approval. But usually this is if something happens and we have to get through a tight spot.
Okay, so this is a temporary, not a, okay.
Right, you're not giving the superintendent unilateral power to hire anybody they want forever.
Okay, good, I understand.
I'll move.
That was Director Baraboo,
Yes.
who support from
Yes.
Director Anderson. Any additional discussion? Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Agenda item 14.4 is consider establishing a newspaper as a legal publication for school business from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. There were quotes included in the agenda from both the Hometown Focus and the Mesabi Daily News. Could I get a motion regarding establishing the school's legal newspaper?
Make a motion for the Masson Daily News.
Second,
I have a motion from Director Tamero with support from Director Schoberg. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
yes,
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Agenda item 14.5 is consider a resolution authorizing a grant request to the Virginia Community Foundation for the purchase of 3 3D printers in the amount of $2,741.99. Can I get a motion?
I'll move, Dr. Sather.
Support Director Lotiger.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
I will be abstaining because I am on the Virginia Community Foundation. Thank you.
thank you. Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
yes,
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is also a yes. Let's see. Agenda item 14.6.
6.
Sorry, my iPad keeps dying. Consider a grant of $750 from the Minnesota Division of the Early Childhood of the Council for the Exceptional Children.
I'll
So-
move with
Who moved? I'm sorry.
Baraboo.
Director Baraboo, and there was support. Was it Director Reardon?
Yes.
Any discussion regarding this grant? Hearing none, I will take a roll call vote. Director Sather?
Yeah.
Director Gentilini? Was that a yes? I didn't hear.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Anderson?
Yes.
Director Tamero? Director Schoberg?
yes,
Director Baraboo?
Yes.
Director Addy?
Yes.
Director Mannanen?
Yes.
Director Reardon?
Yes.
Director Lotigar?
Yes.
Director Sorkin?
Yes.
And Director Sunquist is a yes. Agenda item 14.7 is consider a license agreement between Virginia Evelyn Economic Development Authority and Rock Ridge School District 2909.
I would like if Noel could fill us in on exactly what this says.
Yep, very happy to do that, Matt. What this is for, we are in the process of acquiring parcels of land from the elementary site. We are discovering there are some odd bits of parcels of land that originally belonged to VITA. And so what we are doing is in the process of acquiring those parcels. In the meantime, before we acquire them, this will allow us to use construction on these properties. And so this license agreement will allow Kraus Anderson to start construction on one of the parcels that is owned by Vita. So that in the short run is what that is for, Matt.
Thank you. With that, I would move this.
Thank you, Director Schoberg. Is there support?
Reardon
I'll
support.
Support by Director Reardon. Any additional discussion?
Noel, I have a question. Are you speaking of that little strip of land that Vita owns between just that little strip, or?
They're all little strips. But yeah, this particular little strip is the one between the Spectrum Health Building and where the site A would be that originally the Evelyn School Board bought. So it would be between the football stadium, where the new football stadium will be, and where the Spectrum Health Building is. That's where this parcel is located.
Okay, and the Exhibit A, the description, it's just a small piece then, huh?
Yep. Yes, it is not a big chunk of land.
Okay, it doesn't include the 1404 building.
It does not include the 1404 building.
Any other discussion? Okay, Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes as well. Agenda item 14.5 is consider a resolution, or no, sorry about that. 14, 8 is consider the graduation requirements for Rock Ridge grades 9 through 12. I would entertain a motion.
Make the motion.
Motion by Director Tamero. Is there support?
Support by Director Sather.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote on this. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
and Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Sunquist is a yes as well. Agenda item 14.9 is consider furniture, furnishings, and related equipment proposal. There on the agenda was a work authorization form, a notice to proceed, and another work authorization form. Those were distinguished by work authorization forms 1 and 2.
And members of the school board, I should probably note that I believe we do have the architects online. So if any board member would like to ask any questions of the architects in regards to the FF proposal, they may certainly do that now.
Did we skip the Rock Ridge transition graduation requirements? 14.8.
No, I don't believe we did.
That was
just
what we
did-
just voted on.
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
That was the last thing voted on.
Got it.
Thanks for double checking though. It's a lengthy agenda, so.
I would ask a question as far as the FF&E. Now, this would be working in conjunction with Jeff Carey, who that FF&E, I believe, ended up as part of his job description.
Yes, Matt, Jeff Carey would be involved with the architect on the FF&E proposal.
I had that question too, Matt, because in here, representative owner signing off on things on page 40 and feedback and I know equipment rep, question mark if Jeff was that. So. Yeah, huh?
The only thing I would add for members of the board as you consider this proposal is that the furniture part of it, it is a big deal. We have to get the furniture part right. When talking to, and I'm going to use the Alexandria example just because many of you saw Alexandria. Alexandria had a situation where they did not agree with the architect's FF&E original proposal. They thought they could save money, and so they did part of it on their own. Several years later, they regretted their decision because they bought lower quality furniture that was cheaper, and it just didn't hold up. So in this case, what's critical is that we have to have furniture that's going to stand up over a long, long period of time. So what this means is you are going to pay more for the furniture because it has to last 20, 30 years. This can't be furniture that lasts 1 or 2 or 3 years. So in talking to the outgoing, she's retired now, superintendent, when she gave us any advice, she said, if you give the board any advice, don't cut back on FF&E because you're going to pay for it in the long run.
And
Thank you,
I'm
Darrell.
I'm all for buying quality stuff. I just hope that functionality is the primary objective. Continues to be.
And that's a really good question. And so what we will do is, because it does have to be functional, we will set up rooms with potential furniture, and then kids will come in and teachers can come in and members of the school board, you can certainly come in too and try it out and say you like this, you don't like this. So we want to have user experiences so that it works for our kids and our students and the adults and also board members. So as this gets set up, I'll almost certainly be inviting you to come on in and try it out. Then you can tell us what you think too.
Sounds good. Any other questions regarding the FFE or the FFE?
These two, now one is 198,000, one is 148,000. Do we have any handle on it's those two costs plus reimbursable expenses? I mean, no, originally when something was signed, there was a chart and there were figures attached to beyond things. And I understand that rate automatically went up of those items automatically went up like right away in the next year. So is that something that could start costing a lot of money, these reimbursable expenses?
Hey, Todd or Judy, are either one of you on, or John, who can help answer that question for our board members?
Noel, do you know what I'm referring to? One of the original documents and one of the back pages, it had a whole list of extra charges and expenses.
Yeah. If I know what you're talking about, it was the one that also had the hourly rate. Is that the chart you're talking about? Yep, I know what you're talking about, Holly.
And those went up a certain percentage from what was on that list or amount right away. So I just wondered how much that could add up to a lot of extra out of them.
Noel, this is Todd from Cunningham Group, and I've got several folks here with me from DSGW and the elementary and high school teams as well that might be able to chime in on this and add to this answer. But Holly, I think if I understand your question correctly, the reimbursables are really just pass-through costs, mileage. If we have to come up and do site visits, if there's hotel rooms, those types of things. We wouldn't be adding services or doing any kind of escalators or increases to our fees. The proposals are for a fixed fee for the services listed. I don't know if did I capture your question correctly, Director Sorkin?
Kind of, but I didn't have a chance to pull it up. I don't even know where I would find it. I just remember this whole page of extra expenses and per hour things, just like Noel said. And I'm just concerned that turn out to be a lot additional from the budget. And then, all of these work orders and all of these buildings, and this is only number 1 and number 2. We've had other ones before it came to the joint board and stuff. So just a concern about added expenses and how deep and major they may be in the end as a total.
Say this, Noel, for members of the board, I can probably help answer that question. These services that you're looking at, these were involved in the original master budget. So these are not additional charges. These are not additional bills that they're asking for. These are all part of the original. When the $178.5 million was originally broken out, this was a line item and this was originally included. So what you're looking at tonight, these are not additions to the original budget.
I do understand that, Noel, and that is on the second paragraph of both of the documents, number 1 and number 2. So I do understand that. But the reimbursable expenses are above and beyond those numbers, right?
And I would say this for members of the board, because of COVID, you're actually saving money on reimbursables because they are not coming up here. We're doing a lot more Zoom meetings, but at some point they will need to come up here. And that's where the reimbursable category comes into play. Polly, yes, you are right. We do keep a watch on that because we certainly do not want anybody on the taxpayer's dime, putting in excessive reimbursables.
Well, I didn't mean that they'd be excessive. I just meant that as a total, they add up. And I'm sure those will be line items on the financials.
Yep, you will see them.
Okay,
Yep,
thanks.
they'll be included in any applications for payment. You'll get full backup and documentation of them.
Thank
That's
you. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Director Baraboo. Do I have support?
Support by Director Sather.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I will take a roll call vote. Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Tamaro,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is also a yes. Agenda item 1410 is Rockwood options to appoint or appoint select fundraising director. And Noel, maybe you want to cover this a little bit before we go to a motion on it?
Yep, this is, we talked about this the last time. This is up to you as far as what you want to do. If we do go down the fundraising road, which I think we will need to do, I think last time I gave you, and I know there's a number of options. I'm just trying to simplify a thing. Your first option is to simply do nothing. And then we would figure out a way to fundraise. Your second option would be to convert the assistant principals that you've already approved into more of student supervisors, and then hire a human resources who could do some of the things that the assistant principals were going to do. That person then we would give also fundraising, major fundraising duties. And this would be a position, in my mind, we would post for and see who applies and then hire the best candidate. So that could be, I don't know, could be internal or external. Your third option would be to just simply keep everything as is and just hire a fundraising director completely independent of anything else. Your fourth option is we simply assign the fundraising option to one of our current principals or admin, and we have them work on it. The only thing so it's up to the board as far as what you would like to do on this. And I'm going to repeat what I said last meeting. I would be disappointed if this person did not raise at least $1 million, because I think these are worthy projects we're looking at. There are certain things that the range desperately needs. You have a long, loyal fan base out there, and some of them don't even live here, who may be willing to do certain things. But I think it's time to start the fundraising and get it going. So now I'm asking the school board for direction as far as what you would like to do.
And Noel, did administration have a recommendation on as to which plan the board should strongly consider above the others?
If you ask the principals, they're all going to say, give me the assistant principals. And they're going to go with option 3, probably, or option 1. If you're asking me, I think there's a lot of benefit to going to option 2, partly because, yes, it does save you the most amount of money in the long run. It's doable, and I think we can accomplish everything we need to do under that one. So if you're asking me, I lean towards option 2.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Noel?
I guess I've gotten a few phone calls about this, and I want to just have a discussion. I've gotten a few phone calls basically about, again, remember I've said numerous times, I don't know if it's necessary to have assistant principals in the elementary schools. I get it for in the high school, but I don't know about assistant principals for the elementary school. And as far as the fundraising director goes, I've been hearing some things, so I'm hoping that Noel can clarify, but I've been hearing some things about some extensive travel for this individual, potentially going to other states. And there's also concern that somebody's already lined up for the position. I guess I have some difficulty because we'll be talking about cuts and reductions and the hiring of teachers and stuff down the line, but I'm guessing that position will be in a lot of money. And I know Evelyn Gilbert in the past, a lot of the studies have been saying that, we're top heavy and we're paying a lot of money up at the top. And I want to ensure that that's not happening. I like the wall in Alexandria, and I'd like us to have that too. But how can we go about that in the cheapest and best option for the school district? And I want to be respectful of the dollar amount we went out to the public asking for. I've gotten a number of phone calls and I have some concerns about the position.
Sure.
Brett, go ahead. Brett, I agree with you. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's another administrative job. We don't know the total cost. Even the $150,000 that is estimated is quite a chunk of money. I'm against this. I call a money beggar. Sorry, but that's.
My feeling is it's absolutely critical that we get the right person in this, because I believe that, number one, I think, as I said at the last meeting, that Noel's estimate of raising $1 million is very, very conservative if this is done the right way with the right person. And I see this as an opportunity to put some of those things back in the budget that may have been cut due to budgetary constraints. And I think if we do this the proper way, it'll repay for itself many times over.
I tend to agree with you, Director Schoberg, and I am also a little bit worried about if we choose to have someone in the fundraising position, which I also think is pretty important. I don't feel comfortable putting it on top of current principal to have on their plate in addition to all the other things they're going to be having to go after with the merging or with the new district. So I guess I think it's important.
No
I'd like-
job description first of a person, if it goes, no job description, no expectations, no.
Well, I think the first thing we have to decide is how we're going to do it, and then I would think those details would come in after that. And then I also think, if I recall correctly, Noel, the discussion was that this wasn't going to be a permanent position, but that it would be maybe a couple years at best.
Yes, on the fundraising part, I don't see the fundraising part lasting longer than probably about 2, maybe 2.5 years, but probably about 2.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to go with option 2 for the fundraising director.
Support, Rick.
Any additional discussion?
Yes. Well, you have, your grant writer.
I can't hear Director Gentilini and I can't see him. Can
Push it close.
I'm as close as I can get.
you
He's
put it-
wondering about grant writers.
You have a grant writer that's paid on a percentage of the grant that you get. This is not gonna be a permanent position that's gonna cost you the district money. Why couldn't you fill this position on that type of thing? You give a percentage of the money that he can generate.
That's a good point, yeah.
But I don't necessarily know, or I don't know what kind of grants that we would be targeting, or that a lot of the stuff could fit in versus fundraising. I'm fairly familiar with various grants, and I don't know if that's exactly what we would be targeting. And I think we would see a significant less amount of money that we're able to pull in. And grants are very specific, and versus fundraising, where we can target different areas, we can use the money a little bit differently than grants.
It seems
I
though
don't see them being similar in any such way. If we have someone writing grants, great. We just did one today that that Michelle had written, but I don't think that it's a similar thing.
Kelly, it sounds like it's more of an analogy to a grant writer, a fundraiser commission basis, like a grant. The more you make, that's very incentivizing versus somebody who's going to get $150,000 no matter what. Aren't there goals to reach? And I
see this position working more with individuals who have the opportunity to give back to their community and to work with those individuals to make them comfortable and as more private as opposed to writing grants per se.
Again, Matt, I think it's an analogy, a fundraiser like a grant writer, how they get a percentage of what they raise or what grants they get. That's the point, not a grant writer.
I think it's different though when people look at someone receiving compensation so if I'm going to give 10,000 to the school and I know that the person who found me gets 1,000 of that, it sits different for me versus me giving the school 10,000.
Right.
Or maybe someone will donate $1 million and then it's even more the other.
Well, then that person chunk of that $1 million, whatever.
I mean, I definitely too think that there's money out there for donations. I guess I don't know if we specifically need to hire somebody and pay them, $100,000 or whatever to go out there and get those donations. I mean, I think there's many different ways and opportunities to get those donations.
Okay,
I agree, and nobody answered Brandy's question about extensive travel on that cost. That would be above and beyond the salary.
This is Noel. I will be happy to answer that. When you're dealing with fundraisers and people who have money, it's a different ballgame. So the question is, if we have somebody who lives in Georgia and we believe that they may be willing to give $500,000, would we put somebody on an airplane to talk to them? That is what many major people who do this for a living, they do. So that could happen. I can see that happen. Now this goes to out-of-state travel again. So the school board has to approve all out-of-state travel. So if that was going to happen, this would come back to the school board. But you're dealing with big donors who are seriously thinking about money. It is not unusual for someone to contact them and to do that. So in answer to that question, if you really want to do this well, and you really want to try and get $100,000, $500,000 increments, yes, you're going to have to do some things to bring the money in. That's what you're going to have to do. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You just need to understand you are limiting your opportunities to really get some significant donations.
Is there something in particular? I mean, I know it can go towards curriculum and can go towards all kinds of different things, the donor wall and whatever, but is there certain things that you have earmarked already for the funds?
That's an excellent question. We did meet as an admin group. This is with Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia, and we did make a tentative list of potential fundraising topics. If the board does move in the direction of a fundraiser, that person would also get involved on the ground floor of that. And you as a board would also see the list, because you want to have a very specific list. You just don't want to approach donors and say, hey, we got a really bunch of nifty stuff. Are you interested in donating money? They're more likely you have to have specific targeted things, and you have to have dollar amounts. So yes, Brandy, the board would see the list, and you would also participate in thinking about potential topics that should be on the list. Some of the most common ones are scoreboards, are names on football stadiums. If you were in Alexander, you also noted that in the academic areas, some of the classrooms had specific names on them. Those were also from donors. So the athletic one is an area that a lot of people think of first, but there's a lot of academic areas that also would be potential for fundraisers.
So my one last comment that I want to make on this, I do think I agree with option 2. I think it is important to target this area. And the out-of-state travel still has to come before the board, so I'm fine with that on approving as needed. And the sooner we do this, the better, especially when we know that the designs continue to be worked on, the buildings are going to start taking shape, and some of these fundraising money could potentially want to target, our arts or other areas within the building that could very well change something drastic. So I would like to maybe get this started sooner.
One of the things that we're already talked about was that we're going to post it, number one, but it could be internal, it could be external. It could be an internal person or an external person. That should alleviate some of the wailing and gnashing of teeth. But the other thing is too, this, like Matt has said, we need this position. We need to pay this position if we want to get funds. We're not going to have, I don't think it's in the realm of a teacher or a para or secretaries to go out and say, do you think you can spare $100,000? I think we should investing some money to make some money. So, that's just me.
Who
I
is,
agree with, I agree
Go
with
ahead.
Murray on that, because there has to be many years worth of alumni from all the schools involved in joining together here with the new school that have done very well for themselves, and they may be all over the country. And if you get a person whose job it is to reach out, look at what Harvard and some of these universities have pulled in just from their alumni. I think somebody knows what they're doing, and somebody who has the time to invest in it would be the way to go.
Noel, who would be involved in like the interviewing?
Well, I would really like for at least one board member from the old Evelyn Gilbert School District and the old Virginia School District to be there. I would probably be there. We'd probably have a couple business parent community people, because this person has to be able to sell themselves and sell the story, and they have to be personable, friendly. So I'm looking at this as this would mostly probably be non-educators, non-teachers on this interview committee.
Okay, and how long do you think that this position would be for? What's that, if you got an estimate on how long?
The fundraising part of it would be for 2 years. It could go longer than that, depending where we are with donations. But on that end of it, that's what I'm thinking right now. 2 to 2.5 years. And when I'm saying that, if you go with option 2, I want you to understand that we are not giving the principals assistant principals. In order to do that, we have to have, once you get to a building of 500, it does become tough for one person to do that. So we do have to put somebody in place to help the principals out, which is where the HR director would come into play. So under option 2, this person would then stay on as the HR director. And again, at the board's pleasure, if the board doesn't like this person or like this this person is not on a union contract, and you could let them go.
Okay, and then it's not in the budget because we hadn't talked about it before, correct? So how are we funding it?
For right now, you would fund as of this minute, and I know you're going to talk about budget in a little bit, but I believe that this person is going to bring in so much money that things that you would normally have spent money on out of your general budget, this person is probably going to be one of our few positions we have that will pay for themselves. I am honestly, Brandy, not worried about this paying for this position because I know this person is going to raise enough money that will save you money from your general supplies. And in the short term, on the Virginia side of the equation, Virginia is coming into this meeting with $400,000 in reserves for this coming school year. I know the Evelyn Gilbert School Board is about $400,000 deficit coming into it. So in the short term, on the Virginia side of the equation, the money is there.
Okay, and isn't Deb Weary doing human resource? Isn't she the human resource director?
Yeah, she is Evelyn Gilbert, clerical. She still would continue to be in human resources, so that would not change. The sole intention of creating the HR person is to, I'm clear on this, you do not need an HR person if you have assistant principals in all the buildings. If you don't have assistant principals in all the buildings, like the elementary schools, then you have justification for an HR person in addition to Deb.
Again, I definitely see money out there being out there from alumni and from large businesses. I just don't know if it's if we necessarily need to spend that, a large amount of money on somebody in particular to do that position when there's so many other options for fundraising nowadays. That's all. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Director Lotiger. Any additional discussion?
If we went with option 2, you were changing assistant principals and deans to student assistant supervisors. What different duties would that be? Would we get less of with a student assistant supervisor because you drop down the cost to $60,000? And I don't see where you have any cost for principal/dean, but you have $150,000 for assistant principal.
Right. And the reason why I put that under option 2, Polly, is because you can't afford everything. At some point, you just simply can't afford everything, even though a lot of these things are nice to have. Yeah, student supervisor, many districts use them. There's different names they've called for them. They are able to help on student discipline. They do help on management of behavior. They do process the easier discipline referrals, but if it is going to involve some kind of suspension, then the principal has to do it. One of the biggest differences is that a student supervisor cannot do teacher evaluations and supervisions. That has to be done by an administrator. So the principals they don't like student supervisors because they love somebody who can do everything. When I'm gone, they can do everything. A student supervisor can't do that. But I've been in buildings where the student supervisor has been very, very effective. They can go in the cafeteria, they can be on the playground. You probably hear your principals complaining about, I can't be everywhere. And so in my mind, the student supervisor would be somebody who would be there when kids enter the building, and they would be there when the kids leave the building. And then they're available for everything that happens between the start and end of the school day.
So how is that different than a dean of students? We have a dean of students, you do not. You have assistant principals and we do not, or we did not.
They are very, very similar, except student supervisors are less expensive. If you would like to go to a dean in the long run, you certainly could. It's just going to cost you a little bit more money.
And deans cannot evaluate and deans cannot supervise either. I don't know how we're splitting hairs between the duties of a dean and a student assistant supervisor for a savings of $90,000.
A lot of it is just simply cost. If you get the right person, it doesn't matter whether they're a dean or a student supervisor. You're just going to end up paying a little bit more for the deans over the long run.
The other thing, a dean of students, you do not, it depends on your contract, they do not, in some cases, need a teaching license, and in others they do. And what else?
Most deans are teachers.
But they don't have to be.
They don't have to be, but it's very rare to have deans in a public school system who are not teachers.
And a student supervisor absolutely would not have to be a teacher.
Correct.
All right. Is there any additional discussion? I think we've
One
covered
more
this
thing-
topic fairly
One more thing with
extensively.
that. One more thing with that 150,000, if this person would become an employee of the district, and that would include benefits, salary only, or salary and benefits in our groups.
Polly, that is an excellent question. I put everything in there. So there's no hidden money or anything like that. That is a cost. If you hire someone on an admin level, that's about what they cost with benefits a year.
All right, we have a motion out there. We have support. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Director Sather. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, it took me a bit to get it. Yes.
Director Gentilini. I'll come back to him. Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
No.
Director Lotigar,
No.
Director Addy,
No.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Temero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Where you got Tom? No. You said no.
Right. Director Sather? Oh, I already did you, sorry. Getting late. And Director Sunquist is a yes. So there were 4 noes, 9 yeses, the motion passes.
Wasn't it 5 no's?
No,
Wasn't it?
No.
we only have 12.
Director Yuhan is gone, so it was 4 no's and
Oh, 8 yeses, thank you. And 1 absent. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the amended agenda, so we move 12-9 to 14-1, which would be the hiring of Elizabeth Nemi, and I don't know if it makes sense to kind of lump these together. If we want to talk about them all together, it was, we moved 12-9 to 14-11, 12-10 to 14-12, or I think it was, it's easier maybe for me to do it like this, 14 or 12-9, 12-10, 12-11, and 12-12. We're switched to 14-11, 14-12, 14-13, and 14-14. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes, you are.
And those were regarding the hiring of Elizabeth Nemi, Peyton Worley, Lindsay Engel, and Matthew Stevens.
We had one.
Positions.
We had one before that. We had 12. We had one before that about the Maria. That was before the teacher hirings and Maria membership.
Okay.
No, I gave you the option to talk about it on the consent agenda with some other items.
Yeah, I didn't have that one written down. I just had the teacher hires.
That was the other thing, Greg. That was the other thing that spoke about. I had a quick question about the Maria one is the one I wanted to be. So you misunderstood, and I thought you understood me. So I thought that was on. It's very quick.
Go ahead, Polly. You can go ahead and ask the question.
Okay. I can't even find it. Well, anyhow, on the handout, we have an option of a 1-year membership or a 2-year membership, and it was recommended in the number, the cost in there is for a 1-year membership. I'm just suggesting that was a 10% discount for this coming year, 2021. If we went for the 2-year, it would be another 15% there to be an extra $400 savings. And if we are going to members, just like MSBA year after year after year, we may as well go for the 2-year membership for $4,250 instead of $5,000 the next year. Or next year, but $5,000 in total. And that, my suggestion was just membership. That's all. Simple.
And that's 12.8
Yes.
or was?
It was 12.8. Yep.
We say 10% this year, and if we 2 years, we say 10% next year. Just a little simple. So I would make that. And
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I made that motion.
Would you repeat that, please? It was broken up and I didn't make sense of it.
Yeah, Gal. We are going to be. It's proposed to be members again of MREA, and so the agenda item said for the 2021 school year, the sum of $2,250. That's a 10% reduction for this. If we take the 2-year membership, we would get a 15% discount on the second year of almost $400. And if we're going to belong to them anyway, instead of paying the full price, to pay 15% discounted price. And it's just a little mathematical thing. That's all.
Madam Chair, has anybody seconded that?
No.
I will second that.
Any additional discussion?
Thank you, Tim.
Let's do a roll call vote on this. Director Manninen,
Aye.
Director Reardon,
Aye.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
yes.
Director Addy. That was a yes, even though you're on mute, I think. Thumbs up. Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
No,
that was a no. Can someone confirm? I couldn't catch it.
said no.
Okay. Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. So that is 1 no and 11 yeses. Motion carries. And then I'm just going to put these next 4 together. And like I noted, it was previously 12-9, 12-10, 12-11, and 12-12, which was regarding the hiring of 4 teachers. And it looks like they were all in the district formerly known as 706. And I think there was, well, I'll just let, Noel, do you want to speak to how the process was carried out?
Yes, this is in March, the Virginia Public School District talked about the budget. We started in committees. This then went to the total Virginia School Board. In May, the Virginia School Board approved the budget. And then now a couple of these are simple salary adjustments because as teachers go up the ladder, they make more. And so the 2 hires, the hires that we have, the new hires, these are to replace retired teachers in the Virginia system. And these were, the positions were approved with the Virginia budget. And so we just happened to hire them and get through the interviewing process at this date and time. And so the Rock Ridge School Board is now the new school board. So now we're taking them to the new school board here because these were prior approvals. And I know it's a different situation now under the Virginia school budget. So that's kind of the background for these individuals.
Okay, the first one, Noel, on 12.9, it says you already hired her, previously hired, and now you're just increasing her another 10 credits. So if she was hired on May 11th, I don't understand about rehiring her again today.
Well, and this is a quirk of how Virginia has done this for years. And you can decide how you want to do it with the new school board, but with teachers who go up in credits, they come to the board for approval. And this is just how the Virginia board has done it for so long. So,
Okay, well, Neville Gilbert, go ahead.
Director Sorkin, something seems to have happened with your audio and video, at least on my computer.
Yeah, she's frozen.
Oh, Director Sorkin, I think your internet was kind of funky. We just missed everything you said.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Noel just said that in Virginia you do it that way, but can we just add the credits? She's already hired, and then you just increase the pay for the credits, the BA plus 10, the plus 10 credits. I don't, and I was asking why it says to hire her for that, because it's like if you already have a starting date, does this affect your seniority on the seniority list? I don't know how you can hire her and then now you're going to hire her again just because she's adding credits.
so then what I would recommend to this board is that to approve her increased pay for her additional credits and take the word hire out.
And that's how I thought it was, what it was meant to be, but.
Polly, it's all a contract procedural thing. They have to submit them prior to June 1st. Well, actually, they have to do it in May, and that's why we've always done it this way, so.
And we have prior approval too, and they have to submit, but, and then, well, along those lines about the seniority, how are, when people are hired on the same day, how are we to determine their seniority? I know how Evelyn Gilbert does it. I'm not sure how Virginia used to do it, but now we're a new district. How are we going to do it?
And I guess maybe, and I don't know if Noel can answer that quickly, but that maybe is a discussion for either one of the committees or a later time. I certainly know that we've got still a lot to go through, and we've been here for 2 hours already. And I don't know that necessarily pertains to the hiring of any of these individuals at this time.
Well, it kind of does, because that first one is just a lane, right? You know, you've got steps and lanes. And then in the future, we're have people all hired on the same day. Now these four.
Right, but I think that will be a matter when we're merging contracts, because I know that language is at least in the Virginia contract and not necessarily something that the board needs to determine tonight.
Okay, and the other question.
Polly, it's spelled out in our contract how the first one on the agenda has seniority over the second one, the third one on the same agenda. So as Stacy has stated, when we start to combine our teachers' contract, whatever verbiage that they come up with is what we will have to live with.
Okay, so then these teachers are being hired under the previous Virginia contract until a new combined contract is developed, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And these are all positions going into an existing Virginia building, you know, previous Virginia district building. That's why they would fall under the Virginia contract right now?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
I'll move approval of these hires and lane changes.
Do I have a second?
Support.
Who is the support from? Thank you. Any additional discussion?
I just think, I just want to say, you know, I'm assuming going forward, we're going to be making sure that we're, you know, making sure that people in the old Virginia school district and the old Evelyn Gilbert school district are being looked at to fill positions before we're looking outside to hire.
I would assume that since we're now one district, that we would do any postings internally, and that it would encompass the entire district.
Okay.
Any additional discussion? Okay, we have a motion by Director Baraboo and support by Director Gentilini. I will now take a roll call vote. Director Tamero?
Yes.
Yes. Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Gentilini? Director Schoberg?
Aye.
Director Reardon?
Yes.
Director Sorkin?
Yes.
Director Lotigar?
Yes.
Director Addy?
Yes.
Director Mannanen?
Yes.
Director Sather?
Yes.
And Director Sundquist is a yes. It looks like Director Schoberg is temporarily unavailable and Director Yuhan is unavailable. So that would be.
Yes.
Oh, Director Baraboo, thank you. I think someone switched something and all my screens changed. So we have 11 yeses and 2 who did not vote. Motion passes. All right. So now we are on agenda item 15, which is finance.
Hey, excuse me, Stacy, who voted no?
No one.
I said no one.
Oh, so, okay.
I said just 2 that were unavailable because Director Schoberg and Director Yuhan were not available.
Okay, all right.
Director Schoberg did vote. He
Vote,
said
yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Then it would be 12 yes, 1 unavailable, 0 no. Going to finance, I would.
Excuse me, Chair Sundquist.
Yes.
We actually had a 14.15 that was added for the designated responsible.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me. That was right. Director Sorkin made that addition that we need to designate a responsible authority. And I believe that her suggestion had been to designate the superintendent as the responsible authority.
And he has to be named by name, not just his position.
Right.
I would-
I'm looking, are you making that motion?
Make the motion, yes.
Motion to designate Noel Schmidt as the responsible authority,
Yes.
Support.
support by Baraboo. Any additional discussion? I will take a roll call vote. Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yep.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Motion passes. And thank you, Director Sather, for catching that for me. Agenda item 15 is finance. Consider a resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore. And this is in accordance with state statute. So moved by Director Tamero, support.
Support Reardon.
Thank you. Any discussion?
And this is just to make recommendations.
Right, that would have to still have to come before the board for approval.
One clarification and typo, one clarification, Noel, this would not include teachers because we have to give them notice before July 1st, right? Are these all other employees that you're talking about here in programs?
These would be all others, but these also would include non-tenured teachers. For whatever reason, we would not be recommending be asked back. But
Right.
the board ultimately still has to make the decisions in all of these situations.
Right, so it's not for tenured teachers.
That's correct.
And then just a typo, this resolution says District 706, right about in the middle.
Well, say I need to go back, Polly. This would include teachers also. If we have non-tenured teachers that we're making recommendations, or this could potentially include, I don't see this happening in our situation, but if we need to make reductions, it could theoretically involve teachers also. So I don't want to mislead the board on this one.
No, you said non-tenured teachers, right?
Right, but sometimes we're not in this situation, but if you get into a real tight budget, it is, superintendents sometimes do make recommendations that can involve tenured teachers. I don't see that situation happening, but theoretically, there's always that possibility. So I need to say that.
Absolutely. So this is for the 2021 school year, but you have to notify them before July 1st of 20.
You are correct.
That was my clarification.
And then absolutely, when the resolution is signed, it would reflect the correct school district. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Motion passes. Agenda item 15.2 is to consider payroll dates for the 2021 fiscal year. Spencer, do you want to run through that?
Yep, this one, we talked about it last week. Just the dates on between the two staffs was different. In Virginia, they were paid on the 16th and last day of the month. In Evelyn Gilbert, they were paid on the 15th and the last day of the month. We are just asking to pay all on the 15th and the last day of the month. We did talk to the VEA representatives. It was stated in their contract that they get paid on the 16th, and they are good with an MOU to be paid on the 15th. So
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Baraboo. Do I
Support.
have any? Oh, that was support by,
Sather.
thank you. Any additional discussion? Director Gentilini,
Yes, he said yes.
thank you. Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is also a yes. Motion passes. Agenda item 15.3, consider using teachers on call to provide teacher and paraprofessional substitutes. Could I get a motion regarding that?
Make the motion.
I'll move. I'll second.
Motion by Director Tamero, support by Director Addy. Any discussion? Hearing none. Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
and Director Gentilini.
Yes.
Director Sunquist is also a yes. Motion passes. Agenda item 15.4, consider 2021 meal prices.
This, I can take this one.
Thank
This is
you.
Spencer again. This is another one where we had differences between the two districts. And we tried to look at what the meal prices were in each and make them so that we would receive about the same revenue going into next year and changing those prices so that they are the same regardless of where a student goes to school. So this is where it's at. I will say that the National Food Service, they often will come out and give a minimum dollar amount. So if that changes over the summer, we would then bring this prior to the school if we have anything that's under what their minimum requirements are. But this is where we think they will be right now.
Thank you. And did everyone have a chance to review that before tonight's meeting? So can I get a motion regarding the Rock Ridge meal prices for 2021?
So moved.
Support.
Support.
Director Lotiger.
So, motion by Director Anderson, support by Director Lotigar.
Good.
Director Anderson? Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Gentilini?
So are we not having any discussion on this, Director Sunquist?
Do you, is there any discussion? I'm sorry,
Well,
I
I
thought
would just say,
I missed it. Go
okay,
ahead, I'm sorry.
are we going to move forward in the future? I mean, if you look at these prices, I mean, why was Gilbert being charged more than Virginia? I mean, when you get the same food service from them, from the same company.
A lot of
Is
these are
anybody-
a lot of these are based off of how many people eat at the meals or eat.
Okay.
So that's why the prices were reflective, so that the revenue coming in meets the expenses that are going out. So that's why there's different
So I mean, if
prices at one point.
we got more kids now combined between the districts, the price should be even cheaper than with the new Rock Ridge district. It should be even cheaper because now there's power and there's more meals being sold as one district. So you think they would be able to adjust their prices and make them cheaper? Yet.
These prices are determined by you. So if you would like to make them cheaper, like I said, a lot of these are at the minimum that the federal government allows. They don't just let you go all the way down to 5 cents if you wanted to. They do have minimum.
No. But doesn't INAC control the price to some degree?
Bill, this is what we charge people.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, but Matt, we contract with INAC. I think both of us have INAC. We contract with them. Usually it's been for years, 3% a year of their fees or what they get. I think there is a relationship, if that's what you're talking about, Bill, with INAC, the service provider.
Right.
And I wondered what the relationship was to meal prices and then what we are giving them. So
Okay.
I'm on your trip, I guess.
All right. That's all I got to say. I didn't know, just maybe moving forward with the new district and the new school, when the new high school opens, we're gonna have a culinary part of it that maybe we can cut ties with INAC in the future.
I certainly think that we'll have that option to determine who we want as a meal provider and what kind of meals we'll want in our schools.
And until
Okay.
then, be renegotiating with them, so.
Okay,
Any additional discussion?
I'm good.
Hearing none, I'll restart with the roll call. Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero, Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Lotigar. That was a yes, you were on mute. Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes as well. Motion passes. Agenda item 15.6 is consider property liability in workers' comp insurance. Spencer, can you run us through this one?
We got the budget.
15.5.
My eyes must be getting tired. 15.5 is consider the 2020-21 Rock Ridge proposed budget. And I bet Spencer wants to take this one too.
Yes, I can. So this is the proposed budget that actually was at the working session a week ago on the 22nd. So that's what's in the packet at this point. I think we talked about it a lot there. I don't know if you want me to cover anything more tonight or if you have any other questions.
This is Director Sather, if I could, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
I don't think this would necessarily be accurate because I believe the 2020 to 2021 budget for Evelyn Gilbert was based on the assumption that we were taking the recommendations by administration, which did not happen. So would that not then skew the Rock Ridge budget, where this wouldn't necessarily accurately reflect where we're sitting at today?
Yes, that would be correct.
So what does that mean, Spencer? I know that we had talked kind of last week about the recommendations for the balanced budget.
Those that they did not make from those recommendations equates to about 380,000.
380,000 which way?
Into the red.
We approved the ADSIS and a section to be cut in 3rd grade and 6th grade. And we also, oh no, you're right.
It didn't pass.
It didn't pass. It was tabled. All of that was tabled. You're right.
So I guess I don't even know if this would be the right time, but I would suggest the budget committee is one of the committees that they meet very soon to be able to review everything and try to balance our budget appropriately and look at some of the recommendations that administration has made.
Brandy, it's one pot of money right now.
Right.
Everything over in its one pot.
Right.
So now,
Spencer, is there a date that we have to have a balanced budget approved?
We need to have a budget approved tonight. The date that the state sets is June 30th to have a budget. But because we're brand new today is the day.
So are you suggesting that we approve it, approve the budget, even with the, even though it's not balanced?
The overall Rock Ridge would be.
yes,
But I think we should meet. I think that's an excellent idea. So I think if you approve it, you should approve it without the reductions that were made. So that we can have something approved today and then we can look at it and make a revised budget if needed.
Miss Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the budget as presented. And then the full board can be presented with which changes were made so that we can then talk about that, or the budget committee can talk about that in the future.
So I've got a motion from Director Reardon. Do I have support?
Support.
Any additional discussion?
I have a question of you, Spencer, on page 71. Okay, so the combined Rockridge fund balance is 2,419,991. In that same page, I had clarified with Jeff at our last meeting that the committed to construction EG elementary of million, that was from our general fund. And then where's the 2.5 million committed for the 712 Academy on the Virginia side? Where's that from?
Where was that from?
Yes.
When the board committed the 3 million or the 2.5 million from Virginia, they took it from about 3 different spots. They took it from some capital dollars. They took it from some unassigned. And then they had one other committed that they recommitted to the 712 Academy.
What was the other category? Capital money unassigned and?
They had a commitment to severance pay, but because we have enough right now in our OPEB that they recommitted those dollars.
Okay, so you can take it out of reserve funds?
The board can recommit dollars. They had committed those dollars several years ago towards severance. They can recommit those to anything that they wanted to.
Okay, and the capital money too, that's unassigned?
Capital needs to go towards capital. So the construction of a school building is capital.
Okay, but that's only a portion, okay?
Yep. And the rest came from the unassigned fund balance.
And severance, all right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Additional discussion or questions?
Spencer, what were you recommending that we do with the budget tonight?
The main recommendation is that we get a budget adopted in some form. If we wanted to talk about it at another time, then we could do it with those reductions not being in there. But
So your recommendation, Spencer, was to adopt a budget tonight, and then at some point we can always come back and adopt a revised budget.
That's correct. At some point, we need to adopt something tonight.
And that was my motion also, Madam Chair.
Got
So,
it.
Tim, did your motion include to set a budget committee meeting to have discussions on trying to write the budget?
It did not, but not necessarily. My recollection was that
It was,
because we don't have a budget committee necessarily yet, so that we'll have to get a budget committee and get that done as soon as possible.
correct. I just made the motion to adopt this as presented, and then at a future meeting that we're all informed on which deficits and why, and then we can adopt a revised budget at that point in time.
But this budget reflects the cuts that were recommended for Evelyn Gilbert to make, correct, Spencer?
Yes, that is correct.
It's because they're, Randy.
Director Sorkin, your audio is cutting out again.
I just said that it was because it's combined, it's balanced and it has, whatever, just clarifying for Brandy.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do our roll call vote. Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
No.
Director Lotigar,
No.
Director Addy,
No.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
No.
Director Sunquist is a yes, so we have 4 no votes, 8 yes votes, and 1 unavailable. Motion passes. Agenda item 15.6 is consider property liability and workers' comp insurance.
This is another one we had to quickly try to turn around and get after the vote happened. So we did work, both districts had used Range Reliable to help us get quotes from different insurance companies. Both districts had been with EMC insurance through Range Reliable. We did get quotes from EMC, and we got one from RAM Mutual for the workers' comp portion of the property liability workers' comp. The RAM Mutual was substantially lower in the workers' comp. So the recommendation is to go with EMC for the property and liability insurance, and then go with RAM Mutual Insurance for the workers' comp insurance.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
That was Director Schober. And support by Director Lotiger.
Correct.
Any additional discussion?
I do have a question, some comments. You said we both have Range Reliable as agent, and we both use EMC. So did we go out for quotes and bids for both of these, property liability and workers' comp? And did we solicit, or did we post and advertise for these quotes?
So we use Range Reliable as our agent, and they go out and contact different insurance companies that hold the insurance. So they contacted insurance companies, and these were the 2 that they received back from.
There's something specific I remember back when Evelyn Gilbert, I wasn't on the board, but we had the same agent for years and years and years, and it was discovered that every 5 years you have to go out and solicit or do RFPs for a new agent. Now, is that the case here? Are we getting into that? And now that we're one district, do we start with year 1 to go out for RFPs for agents or not?
We could. This was a unique situation, as in we had a month and a half to get insurance in place by July 1. Just like everything else, we're trying to stay consistent through this first year, and then next year that we can go out and have RFP for agents. I know Virginia, it hasn't even been 5 years that we've had this agent. It's been less than 5 years from when we went out for quotes the last time. But I think for quickness and all the other things that we have had to do as a business office to try to get the district ready to go today, that this was the route that we thought was the best at this point.
And I mentioned consistency, quickness, and
Director Lotiger, or Director Sorkin, your audio is cutting out.
Okay, you mentioned consistency. Answer. I understand that, and I agree with that. Now I. Well, my other question was going to be, now that does this, it says commercial property, does this also include, I know the lease agreement we just passed tonight with VITA, and joint board previously passed one of Virginia, I think, but I know Virginia, City of Evelyn, and for comprehensive commercial general liability for going on their properties. Now, is that part of a commercial property, or is that a whole nother category that we need to find out about?
About the property that you agreed to today? Was that the question?
Yes, the VITA lease agreement to go onto their property, and I know you had one with the City of Evelyn, the joint powers, and I'm not sure, but I think you had one with the City of Virginia too, but they're asking for it no less than $3 million for each occurrence and stuff. So I'm just wondering if those insurances are included in the EMC thing when it says commercial, or is that just our school buildings only?
That would be for those, except for the one today. That's not included on this. I have to contact Jamie tomorrow to see if that costs us any more, or if that's just part of this this quote, and that's just all part of that.
Okay, but it does include the lease agreement with the City of Evelyn.
I'm not sure which lease agreement you are referring to.
It's the same one as the Vita one that we passed tonight. But the Joint Powers Board had passed those with assurances with the city of Evelyn. Noel, you must know what I'm talking about.
Then
That
all
was
the,
that was an easement, not a lease.
Well, the easement was that you had liability insurance, so.
Spencer, is it fair to say that these things cover all of our necessary needs insurance-wise relating to property and workers' compensation?
yes, and if they were done prior to tonight, then they would have already gone through our insurance, so they would be included in this quote as well. But
Okay,
I will check with Jamie to make sure that we're covered on all of those.
Okay, and be adjusted, okay.
All
And
right.
this has nothing to do with our disability and our insurance and our, you mentioned workers' comp, but how about their health insurance and their disability insurance? This is totally different. That's
Health insurance is totally different. Health insurance is through the contracts, and both districts continue to use, Evelyn Gilbert uses PEEP insurance, and the Virginia district uses Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is strictly property liability and our workers' comp insurance.
workers' comp, okay. And does
Anything
it-
else? Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini.
No.
That was a no. Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Abstain.
Okay. Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. So we have,
You got Tom. Yes.
oh, I'm sorry. His picture's gone. We have 1 no, 1 abstain, and 10 yeses. Motion passes. Agenda item 15.7 is to consider the lease agreement with Apple Financial Services for purchases of iPads, laptops for student and teacher use. And the agenda notes that both boards approved the lease agreement back in June. I don't know if anyone wants, I don't know if Spencer, you're presenting on this or?
Yes, both boards already saw this with the iPads that we sold the old ones, and these are the new ones. Apple Financial Services wanted to wait till we're Rock Ridge. So that's why we're bringing this tonight for the final approval so that we can get the lease agreement sent back to them and they can send us the new iPads.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Director Baraboo, support by Director Lotigar. Any additional discussion? Director Gentilini? Director Anderson?
Yes.
Director Tamero?
Yes.
Director Baraboo?
Yes.
Director Addy?
Yes.
Director Lotigar?
Yes.
Director Sorkin?
Yes.
Director Reardon?
Yes.
Director Sather?
Yes.
Director Mannanen?
Yes.
Director Schoberg?
Yes.
And Director Sunquist is also yes. Agenda item 16.1 is consider a resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy. And the proposed resolution noted the dates that filing for candidacy for the office of school board would open on July 28th, 2020 and close at 5:00 p.m. on August 11th, 2020. I would entertain a motion.
So moved, Reardon.
Second.
Second by Director Schoberg. Any discussion? Hearing none. Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
and Director Gentilini.
Yes.
Director Sunquist is a yes. Motion passes. Agenda item 17 is to acknowledge the first reading of policies 102, 214, 401, 402, 406, the form that goes with 406, 410, 412, 413, and the form that goes for with policy 413, 417, 418, the form that goes with 418, 419, 427, 501, 502, 506, the form for 506, 514, 515, the form for 515, 516, 520, the form for 520, 521, 522 with the form for 522, 524 with the form for 524, 526, 531, 532, 533, 534, 601, 603, 612, 616, 620, 709, the form for 709, 721, 722, the form for 722, 806, the form for 806, and 903.
Madam Chair, would you repeat that for me?
No.
Kidding.
Is that a motion, Tim?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, is
I think we should read each one of them.
each policy?
At volunteers.
Here's
is there-
will make a motion to
Thank you.
accept the first reading.
Thank you, Director Sather. Is there
Okay.
support?
Support.
Support by Director Addy. Any discussion?
My only question would be, are these all MSBA's verbiage?
I believe so.
Okay, and then the other question is where will people be able to find these policies? Are they going to be on each, individual website? Are we going to utilize, I believe Jeff started a Rock Ridge website. Are we up and running with a Rock Ridge School District website?
There's actually, Bill Bryson has created a new Rock Ridge website that will be online shortly.
Okay.
And the policies will, of course, be available on that website?
This is Noel. They will eventually be. We have to go through all of the readings before we put them on the website for them to officially get passed. But yes, eventually they will be all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And any additional discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote on this as well. Director Mannanen,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. There was I would also entertain a motion and second to acknowledge the first reading of the policy 209, the Code of Ethics.
I will make that motion, Director Lotiger.
I'll support.
And support by Director Sather. Any additional discussion? Again, a roll call vote. Director Anderson,
Yes.
Director Gentilini,
Yes.
Director Tamero,
Yes.
Director Baraboo,
Yes.
Director Addy,
Yes.
Director Lotigar,
Yes.
Director Sorkin,
Yes.
Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Sather,
Yes.
Director Schoberg,
Yes.
Director Mannanen,
Yes.
and Director Sunquist is a yes. Motion passes. Agenda item 18 is public input regarding the meeting agenda. Do we have any public input?
Could I just ask a question? This is Spencer.
Sure.
I need to get the chair, the treasurer, and the clerk's signature for the signature card. Of course, we didn't have an old one because we didn't exist. Just wondering when would be a good time for me to get that. This for sure by the middle of next week, we would need that.
You in your office?
I'm in my office, so I can run and get yours, Mr. Anderson.
Will you be in your office tomorrow?
I can be if you could let me know what time you would want to stop in.
Okay, yeah, let's, I can do noon.
Noon?
That works.
That will work.
And Spencer, maybe I'll try to run down tonight if you think you'll be there for about 5 more minutes after the meeting.
Yep, I'll be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, Spencer, can I ask to do the same since I'm right here in Virginia right now? And that would probably.
Oh, absolutely. That will work.
Okay.
I'll wait here. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then our next meeting announcement is of the Rockridge School Board is Monday, July 13th at 6 p.m. And before we adjourn, I would just like to recognize everyone's efforts in getting us to where we are tonight. I think this is a pretty big deal for us to be doing the work that we're doing and moving forward. And I just, I appreciate all the work that everyone has done. And so I thank everybody for that.
Agreed.
Stacy, is this meeting going to be a virtual meeting, or are we going to be meeting someplace?
I'm assuming that it will still be via Zoom, and I can let Noel speak to that.
I did, this is Noel. I did ask school board members to get back to me individually as far as whether they were comfortable meeting in a larger group right now. And I do not have agreement from all of the board members that they will feel comfortable meeting as a large group. So my recommendation for the next meeting would be to continue to have a Zoom meeting.
Oh, who did you ask, Noel? Because I was never asked.
I sent out an email to all Evelyn Gilbert and Virginia old school board members.
Okay.
Some people did not get back to me, but of those who
Okay, right.
tell you that you don't, not everyone is comfortable going to a full meeting yet in person.
Okay.
I would just suggest that if we had a location where we could meet for those who are comfortable and still have it available on Zoom for those who might yet not be comfortable to meet in a group.
The only thing I'd say about that is, it seems like when people are all on Zoom, everybody seems to have better luck hearing each other and seeing each other. Whereas, where Noel is with Murray there and Tom there, we get some feedback and Tom's not able to hear. And it just seems like it should be one way or the other. I know that we need to have a place where public can go to, but it just seems that going all Zoom has been the easiest route for everybody to hear.
But it has not been as convenient for the public. The public has to submit their comments to be read into the record. And I would suggest that we allow them by Zoom to get an invitation to speak under visitor input. And, because that can happen. We did it at our meetings and that can't happen as long as we're going to keep Zoom. Otherwise, I wasn't going to bring that up.
I think that people are notified via postings that they can contact Stacy or, was Deb, to be able to get a Zoom meeting invite to attend those meetings. I know it's probably not ideal for everybody, but.
You're right, Brandy. The official thing for this meeting said that if you had a visitor input, you were to submit that to Stacy and it'd be read. And so that's the distinction I was making, that we could Zoom in with an invitation for visitors. And I think we should, as long as Zooming.
Well, I suppose for now it's going to continue to be Zoom meetings, but we can continue to address that as we manage our way through this pandemic.
And I suggest that for the next meeting, if it's Zoom, that we let the public Zoom in for visitors, because it does work.
Well, we can certainly look into that. I know that there are certain challenges as well for adding a bunch of screens to Zoom. I know for court hearings and such, that's still being restricted. So I think we won't have that many.
Anyway, I make a motion to adjourn.
I've got a couple things yet.
No,
Sorry.
Talk fast.
You get your committee preferences into the,
Turn your mic on.
Now it's gonna be that.
Bill,
all right,
I'll turn it on.
Murray, now you have to turn your mic on because Noel muted.
Yep. Noel,
okay.
tell Tom to turn his off. Time roll, turn his off.
Noel turned this.
This is why we can't meet all in one room right here. Perfect example.
and like
Submit your,
callers, Murray.
How's now?
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta turn it up.
Say what you're going to say.
All right.
submit it in writing.
I think you were going to say have everybody submit their committee requests.
Committee references or preferences also, you've been notified, don't forget, they start on the 22nd, July 22nd for the new high school. Is there groundbreaking?
No, it's been moved to August.
Okay. But
Very,
And I'd
All
like
right.
to, the reason why you're getting feedback is because you all have devices in that same room. Now, when Evelyn had their last one and I was the only board member by Zoom, it was because the videographer, the speaking was coming from the videographer's mic and didn't have this feedback and this trouble. And so that's why you were having that trouble. I think you all have different devices in that same room.
All right,
Wouldn't
there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a support?
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Great first meeting.
Thank you all.